And because this bin is already kind of full, several layers of garden refuse, dried leaves, dried stems, and then paper, multicolored papers, what's this, like layered papers, all goes into this. There are also some worms in this bin because I made a mistake. There was a time that I harvested from my vermicompost, and I thought that it was just vermicompost, and I put the vermicompost in this bin and the other, and I didn't realize that there were babies like this small worms, and now they're actually proliferating in this bin, and so this is like a pseudo vermicompost because I don't necessarily take care of them the way I take care of the worms in my vermicompost. And so as I was saying, this bin is full, several layers of paper leaves, and so I can harvest from this other bin. It has been months since I covered it, so I'm going to transfer it there, my gardening stuff. So yeah, I try to keep my plastic within my property. Don't want to give my plastics to the garbage collectors. So even like this is earbuds, and the core is I think paper based, so I can also put it there. Even like the tissue that you use to blow your nose on, I put it here. So there, so for maybe about 2 to 3 months I will let it cover like this, and so I store my garden implements on this side. Recently I tried to bore bigger holes because if I recycle water from, like when I wash when I do my harvest, vermicompost harvest, and I wash the basin that I use, or the things that I use, so if I use the wash water for watering the plants, if the holes are small, this part gets clogged. So now I have less of that problem. So I'm gonna bring the camera a little closer to the bin that I thought I can already harvest. So I put there the red grocery bag. It's supposed to be biodegradable, but it seems like it needs a little bit more time. So, and then there are still green leaves here, and there are some plants trying to grow. So underneath this pile of leaves is soil mixed with compost and compost material, and there are also worms in this bin. So as I harvest the soil, the compost, I will have to pick up the worms and return it back into this bin. So I've finished harvesting compost from this bin, and I have started to, or I have restarted again. So whenever I harvest compost from this bin, I do not harvest all the way to the bottom because I want the worms, because there are worms in this bin, and so I want the worms to have a bedding where they could live and survive as I restart accumulating food for them. So after the bedding of soil and the compost, now I put my various paper scraps, used tissue paper, receipts, food wrappers, paper-based food wrappers. Then the next layer will be the leaves and the weeds that I get from my garden, and then another layer of paper, and then another layer of leaves and garden scraps. So I hope this inspires you. This is how I am able to have my own source of soil. Plus, when I harvested a few days ago, and because I also put here not just paper but like the other food wrappers. So when I harvested, as I find the little scraps of food wrappers, I take them out and I wash them, and then after I wash them, I put them in my eco brick. And to my surprise, the food wrappers were actually nesting place for the worms. So there were a lot of baby worms, and what I did with the baby worms, I fed them to my fish in my lotus tank. They seem to have grown a liking for the baby worms. So the baby worms for the smaller fishes, the little bigger worms for the bigger fishes. And it helps a lot if you wet the paper, so it will to facilitate decaying, and so the worms will find it easier to go to them. So I did some weeding this morning, and together with the weeding, I also tried to clean up and gather some dried leaves in my garden, and I piled them up on this area to sufficiently dry them before I add them on top of the layer of paper that I previously deposited in my vermicompost, not vermicompost, but in my regular compost bin.